Hi everyone, welcome back. So my last video generated a few questions about the use of graphite powder, about where to get it or how to make it, how to use it. So I thought today that I would do just a short little video about the basics of graphite powder. You can buy graphite powder in a jar. So I bought this jar some 10 or 15 years ago, and I don't know if you can see, but I've got probably 3/4 of my jar left. Sorry for the background noise. That's my little dog digging in her bed. But it's an extremely fine powder, and if it gets into your carpeting, onto your clothing, anywhere that you don't want it to be, it's really difficult to get out. So I take the powder that's in this jar and I've put it in a little pill bottle, basically so that if I happen to knock over the jar, which I did once do, at least I'm not dumping a large amount, at least not as a large amount, onto my carpeting, my clothing, wherever. So I would recommend separating it into a smaller container. But you don't need to, there she is shaking her collar tag, sorry about the noise. So you don't need to actually buy one of the actual jar of powder. You can make your own powder. Obviously you won't get nearly as much, but if you don't need a lot, well then it's very simple to make your own, just simply by scraping the powder from a pencil. A woodless pencil would work. I usually use a 4 or a 6B pencil because the graphite is darker and softer, so it works better as opposed to an H or an HB pencil. And you can also buy these little graphite sticks. I believe this is a general brand. It's cut in half with the name on the other half that's missing, so I'm not exactly sure, but it is a 4B. And same thing, you can take a knife, a razor blade, an X-Acto knife, and just scrape however much powder you would need. And you can scrape this directly onto your drawing as well, or on a separate piece of paper, which you then can pick the graphite up from. So that's how you get the powder. This should be available in any art store. I think it's available online on Amazon. And then to apply the graphite, one of my favorite ways is with a blending stump. And I usually have one end that is loaded with more graphite than the other end. So to load it up, you just simply rub it through the graphite, and then you can apply it to your paper. And then the other end is not quite so loaded, so you get a finer, lighter mark with it, which is nice to have the two different available. And then I use different sizes of blending stumps, so depending on what I'm doing. Another applicator that you can use is this sponge applicator, and I just got this off of Amazon some time ago. And again, you can just pick up your graphite and it will make a different kind of a mark. So all these tools make different kinds of marks. So that type of an idea. Or you can use a cotton bud, which gives a little bit of a softer effect, which is kind of nice. And then there are the cotton balls. So I've got a couple here. One is more loaded up with the graphite than the other. Again, same thing. You just load them on, and then you can use it So cotton balls, I really like the effect of for skies. And something similar and a little bit more environmentally friendly than a cotton ball is a pounce. So I have made my own pounce just out of a t-shirt, an old t-shirt, and an elastic band, and a couple of cotton balls that are squeezed together in there, and they're both really loaded up with a lot of graphite powder. So once you've got the graphite powder on there, and I pour a little bit extra in, and then I just twist the thing and tighten it up with an elastic band, and it gives a super nice, smooth effect on your paper, like so. So if you have an old t-shirt, that's all you need, and I keep it stored in this little container so that it doesn't get everything dirty. But if the graphite starts to deplete inside of the inside of the pounce, then I can either open it up and pour more graphite in, or I can simply load it up again by dipping it into the graphite powder, and that way I've always got a nice supply of a nice, and it's so smooth. So the other thing I want to explain too is I use these plastic gloves when I'm working with graphite powder. At least I try to remember to. And or you can use cotton gloves, whatever you have, it doesn't matter, even winter gloves, as long as you can have the dexterity to move your fingers. And there's two reasons for that. Number one, as you can see, it's extremely messy and dirty, so it helps to keep my hands clean. But also it prevents the oils from your fingers, from your hands, getting onto your paper. And even if you've washed your hands, you've still got oils on your fingertips that, you know, you don't have to touch your paper for long. And if you're accidentally touching your paper, then the graphite will be attracted to that area of the paper, and it will stick to that oil like glue, and it's really difficult to get off, and it ends up giving you a bunch of little smudgy areas that just do not look very good. So if you can, try to wear some gloves, or at least be very, very aware that you're not touching your paper surface. You want to avoid that at all costs. So the other thing too that I want to mention is you don't want to, so if I've got a lot of graphite here, a lot of powder, you don't want to take a brush and brush it away, because you will end up leaving streaks outside of the area that you actually want the graphite on. So you can blow it with your mouth, but then there's always the risk of accidentally spitting on your paper, which is not a nice effect. So something that I've been using when I use graphite powder to get rid of the excess powder is just a little a can of compressed air with the little directional pipe. Whoops. A little directional pipe attached. Whoops. And that blows all your powder off without leaving any streaks. And oh yes, the one other one that I want to mention is once you've got some graphite down, if you want to just soften out some edges, I just use a really cheap synthetic soft filbert brush, and that will help me to soften out edges. So that's essentially how I use graphite powder and how I make it. If you look through my gallery, you'll see that I use graphite powder a lot in my backgrounds, and it gives a really beautiful soft effect, dark, dramatic. So I do really like it, and I've recently started to experiment with using acetone on graphite to get kind of abstract-y effects. So I'm not going to cover that in this video because it's a little bit more involved, but I want to at least give the give anybody who wants to use the graphite an idea of how to at least make some and use it for some basic sketches. It's especially nice to use for skies. So I hope this has helped, and I hope I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.